Mansplaining is overly criticized.
For my female viewers, mansplaining is when a man explains something. Ladies and gentlemen, this is male feminists versus anti-feminists. Let's provide some high-level, intellectually sophisticated, comedically sound commentary.
Women have it easier than they think they do.
Would I agree or disagree? I would not agree because that is the most generalized statement in the world.
With feminism, it's kind of brainwashed women to think that they are victims in 99% of cases, and all the disenfranchisement that they would claim in like colleges and careers. A lot of these careers are way easier to get into for women than they are for men because they're looking to hire women because of feminism.
Yeah,
that's
like
a fair
divorce
point.
and stuff, they get more property, the kids' rights, all that.
Yeah.
But more so, I think that from the jump, actually have it easier. Like, men need to be a provider.
I could never do one of these because I could not stand to have my name and then a label under it saying either feminist or anti-feminist. It's just like, dude, that not a good look, in my opinion.
Provider, they're taught to be tough. Oh, why are you crying? Don't be a girl. But when a girl is crying or a girl is upset or anything that happens, usually there's like they're a princess and they're given the world.
Well, yeah, because with women, they're born with their value. They innately have value. They can create
Right.
life and they're extremely valuable from birth. For men,
Right.
it's not really the same way. You have to make something of yourself to be respected.
Exactly. Like a pretty woman can go far just using her face. A man can't do that. A man can't go to a rich businessman or like a businesswoman and be like, I'm good looking, let me come to your yacht.
Right.
A woman.
Isn't that what a juggalo is? Or no, that's the clown band. Gigolo, I believe. So, anti-feminists are off to a poor start, leaving out the juggalos.
Right.
Let's bring the disagreeers forward.
I have a quick question. Just a second ago, you were saying that a pretty woman could go onto a rich man's yacht and that would be kind of her ticket on, right? Okay, so did that help women vote at all, being pretty?
Damn, got him.
I'm just asking, because I mean, when we're talking about women's lives being better than they think they are, would you rather be pretty and be able to get on a yacht or have your liberties?
What are we living in?
Would I rather have free access to a yacht or the ability to vote? I don't think the answer to that question is as obvious as that guy thinks it is, but we'll move on.
Like 1950s or 2022?
Women
They already
have
have
the
the right to vote
for a long time.
I think something you specifically said shows to me why women don't have it easier. I think it was you who said, women already have
Tucker sounds like Tucker Carlson already, just saying.
their value. Their value is already obvious because they can have children. I don't want to put you into a box, but there are large amounts of men. Women are people that have children and then they raise the child and they be quiet.
And I think
That is a
Not at
problem.
all.
I think what was really evident to me when both of y'all came up and talked was how indoctrinated into the patriarchy you are, right? You both come up and say, as men, we
bro.
have to prove something. And those expectations that you put on yourself is a direct result of patriarchy and the systems that feminism is trying to dismantle.
As are the values that women have that when they were born that you're talking about. Women did not create those.
Right.
Men did.
Those are God
Hold on.
ordained.
So-
Men and women are both equal under God and in value as human beings. In Genesis, you have a creation of both men and women that are made in God's
We're
image.
not
So
about
we
to
are
quote the
both.
Bible on like some feminist
Hold on,
topic.
but so
I mean, we
well,
can.
We're operating in a country
Can we-
where there's a separation of church and
back.
state. You cannot use religion
Okay,
as
great.
a
And the Bible
motivation
also
to make
doesn't tell women
legislation. If I hear one more person use religion as a reason to not give rights to people, I'm probably gonna fucking explode. People using their own personal ideologies as an excuse to implement legislation over other people's lives are simply just not okay with the fact that they can't control everything around.
Actually, we have like just a little bit left. I haven't heard Kevin yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
Kevin,
You
spotlight.
talked about the pressures of being a man and having to provide and having to prove your value as a man. I think those are real challenges that men face. That's why like women have it harder too, because they are also being impacted by how aggressive men feel like they need to be able to secure the role that they have to play in society. But the reality of today is that because of the systems that we're in, the patriarchy is negatively impacting not only women, but also men.
Every time someone on the left says patriarchy, it's my emotional reaction is exactly the same as if when someone on the right says the word snowflake. Like, oh, the problem today is all these snowflakes. Well, the problem today is patriarchy. It's like it just if you're using that terminology at that level of simplicity, it's foolish, in my opinion.
Mansplaining is overly criticized.
I frequently come across videos online where like a man will respond back to a broad generalization about women, and they'll be like, oh, you're just
I was going to say, a man responds back to a broad. That would explain his anti-feminist position.
mansplaining it, as if men aren't allowed to have a voice in the conversation. And I think that the term itself, it's just not really defined.
I'm going to speak about mansplaining from a different perspective because you guys are talking about controversial topics. I'm going to talk about it from just like a day-to-day perspective. In my relationship with my partner, how I try to be really mindful of mansplaining is when she is sharing her struggle, I think a tendency that can be conditioned in me through just how men dominate and want to have to solve problems and all that is I want to jump in and just solve it and try to explain what's happening here and try to question her experience and be
That's a real thing. I wouldn't call that mansplaining, though.
like, hey, like, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Well, I see this. That inherently in itself comes off as mansplaining because what is the counter to mansplaining is actually getting consent from the other person. How do you want to be supported? Do you want me to support you and listen to you, or do you want me to help solve problems?
I have one more question. Is it about the word?
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Is it
like
about
we keep
the
on getting
words?
hung up on like words
No,
like
it is.
Y'all really
mansplaining
don't. Y'all have a lot
and
of problems with a lot of
patriarchy,
these
like,
languages.
When you say mansplaining,
Yeah.
you have to understand that subconsciously we're already creating a divide when really a woman can mansplain by definition the way you guys are explaining it, and that's just as wrong as if a man does it. So why is it called mansplaining? Why isn't it just disrespectful?
So
when
yeah,
your life is
exactly.
not at stake, when you're not being attacked,
Base take.
I think you can focus on language. When you're not at risk of being,
You live in U.S., dude. That doesn't
Men are
happen.
attacked every single day.
women are attacked more.
But I think from a societal
I don't know about that. I think men are victims of violent crime more than women. Check me on that, though, if I'm wrong.
standpoint, you guys talk a lot about social conditioning and how women feel uncomfortable. But don't you think this narrative that you're saying right now is contributing to that? Telling women that they should be scared when they're in an environment full of men. Telling women that, you know, they are oppressed, they are this, they're that. By telling women they're less than
Let
men.
me respond to that. They're not telling them that. They're validating the fact that that's the reality.
Right.
Women should be encouraged to be financially independent of men.
Women should be encouraged to be financially independent of men. I don't know. I think people should be encouraged to be financially responsible, and I think independence is part of that. I don't know about women being independent of men. I think ideally, in a functional society, women and men would be working together and in financially mutualistic relationships, so I think I would disagree on this one. Oh, God, I'm a sexist. Even the anti-feminists
I
agree.
think this one's a no-brainer, right? I believe that men and women are equal. They're just not the same. And I think with that equality comes equal responsibility to be able to provide for yourself. And when I think about what could provide for oppression, if that were to exist, would be this idea that they were tethered to men to live their lives.
I want to speak about this through a different lens. I think it should be like women should be empowered to be financially independent. Encouraged versus empowered takes a different like sense of support. Speaking to
I can agree with that.
how men feel the need to provide. Sometimes when a woman makes more than a man, men can feel like they're less of a man because the woman is taking more of like the boss and like provision kind of like role in the household.
The biggest group of people that are on antidepressants, and it's 1 in 4, are women that are 40, have a career, and have no family and no kids. Which is the real meaning of life is community, family, and relationship.
Can I respond to one
What?
specific thing you said, which is the demographic of women over 40 taking antidepressants, and you're using that as proof that they're the most depressed group. Men just kill themselves. So
Yes,
like
but
all
those are
the men that have killed themselves, if they didn't do that and we're still here, men would predominantly be more depressed than women.
Tucker's got a
There's no
point.
basis for
There's-
that. There's
but
no-
also
That's
the
a
Men
correlation
statistically
between-
kill themselves more.
But we're talking about two completely separate, different points.
Innocent men suffer because of feminism.
Innocent men suffer because of feminism? Bro, innocent men suffer because the Metallica CDs ran out in 1985 at Jason's Records corner store. I mean, I'm not really sure where that analogy came from. My point is that you can say innocent men suffer for any kind of reason when you say something so broad as feminism. In classic Jubilee fashion, these questions/prompts kind of suck and are overly vague. So I don't know what I would say. I would disagree and say it's a bad prompt.
So I think today in 2022, feminism has changed drastically, and I think it's really turned into demonizing masculinity in men while promoting masculinity in women, and with that, good men are being pushed to the wayside and pushing parts of themselves down and not embracing their own masculinity because society is telling them that it's wrong.
100%. I think like anything that is deemed masculine is seen as now toxic. And I see it all over social media. You can't really say anything or do anything, especially even like against or even for yourself, without it being like weaponized in some way or shape or form.
It's a shame that feminism has become less about actual equality and more about supremacy. It's not about equal rights between men and women. It's about women being superior to men. And women don't even like it anymore, right? I hear conversations with so many.
There's just something about the way that this conversation is going where it's like, even if there were good points to be made, this just sounds like complaining of it's about supremacy. It's like, I obviously think there is a serious cultural divide, and feminism and various ideologies are part of that landscape in which the divide is occurring. But to speak about it in these rigid terms, it just sounds like complaining, and it sounds like there are better things to spend time on. As I say, reacting to a Jubilee video about this. So, hypocrisy. I am no stranger.
Girls that are friends of mine, they're like, I hate what feminism has become because it makes me feel as if I'm a victim, and also too that men aren't supposed to be men anymore. It almost absolves us of the responsibilities that we have as males in society to be providers, to be protectors.
Right.
And innocent men suffer because we're made out to be toxic because we're fulfilling our roles as men in this world. It's absolutely insane.
When I started hearing y'all talk, y'all have a huge misconception of even what feminism is.
Well,
the goal
please
of
explain- yeah,
feminism
explain it
isn't
to
to
me then.
demasculate men. The goal of feminism is to fight for social, political, and economic equality for everyone, regardless of
equality
your
of
race,
opportunity
gender.
or equality of outcome, because
Oh.
it used to be equality of opportunity, and that's
Someone has been listening to Jordan B. Peterson.
when I would say I would be a feminist.
But
But
either
now it's
way-
become equality of
But
outcome.
Hold on,
you
but
guys-
either way, what y'all are talking about is feeling.
And so
Yeah.
can I pose this question?
that
then?
is-
on a day-by-day basis, do you think you're negatively affected by feminism?
100%.
Yeah.
120%.
And so
They really believe that.
No.
Can you
Because
This guy's a
explain to me how on
complainer.
day-by-day
Because
basis
this
I'm
guy's
affected
weirdo.
negatively?
Because again, masculinity has this mythical eligibility of power.
Women are fit to be president.
Tulsi Gabbard 2024. That's all I'll say for that.
I mean, really, this is a no-brainer
Yeah,
for me.
right. Yeah, I think that this is.
Bro, who are
I
these
expect this
weirdos?
To be unanimous, but I think this will probably be the most biggest agreement amongst the group today.
I look forward to hearing what
Yeah.
they have to say.
I think eligibility and optimal option is the difference. I think a woman can be eligible to be president. I think is it the optimal situation? No. I would kind of disagree with you where you say men and women are generally the same. I think we're completely different in the way that we process information, the way that we make choices, the way that we build society. Men are very hierarchical in nature, so it's very merit-oriented. I think women are a little bit more communitarianism or communism. That's the word I'm looking for. Communistic.
You mean
where-
community-based?
Community-based.
Oh. This is what happens when you watch too much Kevin Samuels. I think women are inherently, communist? What has Andrew Tate done to this generation?
So even a woman whose worldview aligns with yours, you don't think that she would be fit to be president, even if her every single view she has aligns
Right,
with
like I
yours?
said, she could be fit, but is it the optimal situation?
But why would she? So is the only reason she's not optimal because she's a woman?
I would say it's not optimal because God called men to be the leaders of society.
So again, you
Here we
keep going
go.
back to God.
Ideology.
You keep trying to center Christianity as like the know-all,
Dogma.
end-all.
And I do personally think that women are more emotional beings. We are not similar.
And that's actually not factually true. There are big differences between us, and those differences are very vast on the spectrum,
we're-
but we are a lot more similar in the way we process information.
Accurate. This guy has watched his Jordan Peterson. It's absolutely true. Women and men are more the same than they are different.
Male feminists are in it to get laid.
Some of them are. And again, what person isn't in anything to get laid? No pun intended.
I'm excited for this
Oh,
one
Tucker.
because I don't like women sexually, so this is going to be a very interesting conversation. I think that if you are a straight male, the way you view women subconsciously is always going to have something to do with sex.
Right.
On just a fundamental level, just in
I disagree with that. There are women who, for example, men don't necessarily find sexually attractive. And so not even subconsciously is that feeling there. But I get his point.
Nature. Now, that might not be the whole premise, but I do think that it has something to do with it.
Some of us don't identify with, me personally, I don't identify with masculinity. I might show masculinity, but like I don't think feminism is taking anything away from me.
But I think that's a societal problem,
well,
though. The fact that masculinity itself has become a dirty word.
What does it mean to I don't identify with masculinity? It's like, okay, I don't identify with being a loser, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who would disagree otherwise. It's like, it's not something you choose. Identity is intersubjective. It exists in the space between people.
And for me, I think we're taking this from a very heteronormative perspective, right? All my friends aren't straight women. So I'm not gonna look at my non-binary or LGBTQ friends
the
and be like,
buzzwords.
just because I can't have sex with you, I'm not gonna fight for your rights. There is no...
Also, heteronormative, it's like most people in society are heterosexual. So that's not like a socially imposed situation that there's like heteronorms. I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not going to take this linguistic bait. Okay? That's bait.
I like living in a patriarchal society.
Jubilee sucks at writing prompts.